G'day, my name is Michael and welcome to this Engineering Success Secrets webinar for preparing for Chartered. We'll just go through a little bit of a disclaimer, housekeeping. The purpose of this presentation is to provide informative philosophy, concepts and ideas complemented by a general example. This presentation does not contain any kind of normative content, instruction nor direction, legal, commercial, technical nor professional advice and must not be relied upon. My lead engineer bears no civil nor criminal accountability and no liability for any damages or loss suffered resulting from reliance, misinterpretation or misuse of the information contained in this presentation. This presentation does not contain nor describe all aspects of the topics covered. My lead engineer does provide services should further learning or professional support be of interest. Contact my lead engineer if you are in doubt or unsure about any of the content, or if you have a query, contact us at contact@myleadengineer.com.au. And a little bit more housekeeping. So all rights reserved, no part of this presentation may be separated, reproduced, distributed or transmitted in any form or by any means, including copying, photocopying, recording, downloading, uploading, backing up, sharing, posting, emailing, embedding or other electronic, digital or mechanical methods without written permission from my lead engineer. Copyright requests must be placed in writing and addressed to my lead engineer at contact@myleadengineer.com.au. The slide doesn't want to focus. That's handy. All right, we don't need to learn about me anyway. Okay, here's a little bit about me. You can read that in your own time. Moving on. Onto the contents. Today we're going to be looking at a perspective on Chartered, experiences before Chartered and experiences after Chartered, and how to approach Chartered, and then we'll have a Q&A. So first, a perspective on Chartered. Slide number 6. So value is one perspective I wanted to help provide on Chartered. Through my experience with the volunteering that I've done, and also in my personal experience with wondering about Chartered myself when I was long before I even considered about getting it, I was curious about it, and I couldn't see a use and I couldn't see value. And at the time, I actually wasn't even involved or didn't even know about Engineers Australia. I just knew about this Chartered thing. And what I thought and what I'd learned from people was completely incorrect. I think I'd asked about, over a period of a couple of years, maybe 50 or 60 people, and not one person could give me the right answer or gave me the right answer. Excuse me. So I'm going to rattle off some ideas on why there's value in Chartered and what it looks like. And the value isn't, like say, if I've got a product and I see the value in the product because there's been effort has been put into that product, and I can hold it, I can sell it, I can reproduce it, I can do all these sorts of things. It's tangible, you can touch it. With Chartered, it's something that you generally can't see, and the value in it takes some self-reflection. You have to look at yourself, because the value in Chartered is all about yourself, it's about your person. So the value to the person with Chartered kind of goes like this, in my opinion. Chartered is an assessment of your capability to date. It's an assessment of your achievements and the quality of those outcomes, and also how you behave in your conduct. Previously, I was an interviewer for Chartered candidates, and they're the sorts of things that you would be looking for through all the technical. So if we look at a person in engineering, we have two things. We have everything that person knows and everything that person is. So if I was to say that all the technical stuff is the most important, well, I would feel that I've said something that's not quite right, because the technical stuff is no different to an inanimate object. So if I take this trackball, look at my trackball, and it's it doesn't do anything on its own. It takes a person to do something with it. And engineering is the same. So all the technical stuff and all the physics and mathematics and business about engineering, it takes a person to do something with those things. So that's where the value starts. So you've got to look at, when I was looking at chartered, I was thinking, well, why am I doing this, and how can I get something out of it? And it's all about self-reflection and about the actions that I make and the behaviour that I display in going about using my knowledge in engineering, technical stuff, and physics and maths and business and commerce and law and all that sort of thing, relationships and how I communicate. So that's the value of the person for the person. It's the value that's in yourself, right? It's all about you. You are your own brand, your own product. Then we have the value to the customer. So if we've self-reflected and we can see the value in what we provide as a person, and then we can use that, to get things done, to do business and to make a living. Then we look at the value to the customer. So everything that you bring along with you as a chartered engineer can be used for the benefit of the customer. So that customer can then have confidence in the person that they're working with, confidence in that, that you know how to challenge yourself, you know how to, use some critical thinking, you know how to check yourself, you know how to learn, you know how to validate what you've done, you know how to get your things, when and where to get things verified, all that sort of stuff. It's knowing that you're continually, in my opinion, self-reflecting on what you're doing and what you've done and where you need to go to get to an outcome for someone, because you're providing a professional service, and that service can can affect many lives, and property as well. So that's where it's very important, and that's where the value, in my opinion, can come to the customer. Now, you might be asking, well, I already do that without chartered. So you may be aware of the Made in Australia tag or the Heart Smart tag, or all those sorts of tags that go on products. Let's generally think about it just for the moment as one of those tags, but it's for you. And if we look at the Made in Australia tag, or we look at the Heart Smart tag, or any other of those sort of brand representations, generally speaking, they're based on products, and that product has quality control. They could be type tested products. It's mass production. They're making lots of them, so there might be spot testing and all that sort of stuff, if you understand type testing. And so the quality control for those products, and to keep that product at a level that brand wants to represent, that whatever third party brand that might be, is could seem relatively straightforward. It's all about manufacturing quality control. With chartered, it's not the same. Everything that we do is different, and we need to continually be looking at self-reflecting and looking at the assurance that we're providing and the quality that we're providing in what we do, and even a small decision can, or a bit of a from the hip sort of mention of something can cause sort of ripple effects in a project or in a day-to-day that could be lasting and cause maybe a couple of $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars of loss. So we need to we need to be keeping that quality assurance or control about ourselves and what we do, and that's where it's a little bit different. Then we've got the value to the end user. So we have our customer, which might be a manufacturer, it might be a plant operator, it could be an asset operator like a water utility or an electricity supplier or generator. And they may be the customer, but the end user is the population. And generally, we could think it always comes back to a population. The population is going to be buying a product. Excuse me. Population is going to be buying a product. They're going to be using that product or that service, and you know, they're going to want to see the quality in that sort of thing, and the customer wants to be able to represent themselves by the quality that they're providing their customers, their end users. So that's a little bit of a different perspective, I feel, on the value of chartered. You know, it's a personal one, coming from, you know, being a practicing engineer myself. So now we're going to get into some other things about where or what is the value of chartered. So we're on to slide number 8. So maturity, I'll just read through these because it's a list, you can see it anyway. So maturity, behavior, conduct, advancement, and self-reflection. So we've spoken already a lot about self-reflection. Advancement, you know, learning, knowing how to learn. A lot of things that we have to learn, we have to teach ourselves, or we have to know or work out, be able to work out where to get taught those things properly. You know, we don't want to be learning everything off, you know, a wiki website. We can learn things off people. You know, I've learned a lot of things, so many things off other people. What I need to do is, when I'm learning off someone, is I need to be aware of the quality of information and that person is presenting me, how they're presenting it, and of that information, how much of it is negligible, how much of it is really worthwhile, because you know, sometimes you have to work out, you know, do I have to take what I'm being told with a grain of salt? And there's you know, sometimes there's fantastic quality in learning from people, and sometimes it's you know, you kind of luck out. So it's being able to work that one out. Conduct, I mean, you know, that's straight out. It's you know, we don't want to have poor conduct, but and behaviours. So this is where, in a way, I feel, you know, emotional intelligence comes into things. And you know, emotional intelligence can be a lot more useful in times than, you know, your more analytical intelligence and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes you need to have a balance of that. So your behaviours and body language and communication are really important in that way. Without those things, we can't be engineers. You know, the engineering, the doing stuff comes right at the end, but to get there, we have to, you know, get ourselves to that point to be able to do that stuff. And maturity. So when we're talking about maturity, we're not talking about, you know, the difference between being 5 years old and 30 years old. It's about having maturity in your profession and in what you do, and you're continually maturing as you go along. Because, you know, if I look at when I started engineering, I was just a sponge for technical stuff. I just wanted to learn as much as I could, and I wanted to do a lot of things and all that sort of stuff. And then, but now when I look at things, I'm looking at the philosophy of stuff and the concepts and ideas, so I can apply those to a broader range of situations, you know. So I in my career, and often I'll go I'll be working in the water space, then I'll work in rail, and then I'll work in I might work in sort of, you know, heavy manufacturing like mining or steel, and it's those philosophies that allow me to take those principles and the concepts and apply them across a broad range of sectors successfully. So to have that maturity sort of helps you, you know, you're not pigeonholing yourself. You're increasing your capability and the you know, continual growth. So we'll go on to the next slide. Oh, we've got another heading. So this one is experiences before chartered. So slide number 10, for those who are listening to just audio. So experience before chartered. So I did my advanced diploma first up, and I knocked that over in about just 2 years. So I was working full time, and I did it part time, and I knocked it over in 2 years, which was in advance. And then I was thinking, well, what about, I mean, where do I want to go now? Like, I like doing design, and like I said, when I was young, I just wanted to do everything and learn everything. And then was thinking, well, do I need a degree? And I started asking about this chartered stuff, and some people were saying, oh, well, you need it if you're going to work on public works, you need it if you're going to do these sorts of things, but nothing was really clear, and I couldn't find anything written down. There was nothing that I found at the time that said, oh, you have to be chartered to work on public works. And and I've seen a lot of people who aren't chartered to work. It happens all the time, and so what I'd been told wasn't correct. So I feel, and so being an engineering associate, I thought, there's more that I want to do. So what came first? Well, first I decided that I wanted to do my degree, and I looked for a role that could provide me the ability to do it part-time. So I worked full-time, 40, 50 hours a week, and I did my degree part-time, probably 2, maybe 3 classes a semester. So I slogged it out. Wouldn't recommend that workload, but anyway. So I ended up working on capital projects and employed as a senior engineer, doing the work of what a professional engineer would do, long before I had my degree. And the interesting thing is that a lot of people had a bit of a beef with that. I used to get told, oh, you can't do that and you can't do this, and you shouldn't be using calcs, but the MY on I and all that sort of thing for mechanical engineers and doing bending stress. But the interesting thing is that the advanced diploma taught me all that. The old advanced diploma from 20 years ago taught that it was almost identical to the degree. And saying for instance, in thermodynamics, I think I learnt 1 or 2 things that I hadn't learnt in it at TAFE. And so I knew I could do it, and I knew I could teach myself new things and apply what I'd learnt to in practice at work and doing sort of a lot of all sorts of things. I did a lot of welding, calcs, and beams and structures, and a lot of pumps, a lot of fluid power. But how did I cover myself for the things that the people were saying to me, the things that people were trying to hold me back with, directly or indirectly? It was usually indirectly. Not many people directly tried to hold me back. I had a fantastic lot of people around me that supported me to progress. And I did that. I was just being supervised by a professional engineer, and it was about using, quality assurance and quality control, and having myself checked. And it's about the way I conducted myself. So if I had known about, being a chartered associate engineer, well, then I would have been, I was displaying those attributes that would be the representative of a chartered associate engineer, but practicing as a professional. And then before I became chartered, I finished my degree, and some people ask, did my job change once I got my degree? And it's like, great, now you'd be a professional engineer. It's like my job didn't change. I went to work on it the next week, and I was doing exactly the same stuff. So and it was all professional level stuff. So there's always unique cases out there and outliers and all that sort of stuff, and the way people do things differently. But it's all about how I conducted myself and how I got maturity and assurance and quality in what I did, that led to that success, and companies, my customers, and being comfortable with letting me do that sort of stuff, and actually then becoming a go-to guy for that stuff. And coming into being I'm very much a problem solver. It's what I like to do. And so there was no constraint. I was unconstrained. But I knew the constraints I wanted to work within to provide a good service to people. So let's go to experiences after chartered. So we're just on the heading there, and we're on slide 12 for the people on the audio only. So practicing as a professional, have I been able to do much bigger things? Absolutely. Like I worked on some pretty crazy capital projects in heavy industry before I had my degree, and then practicing as a professional engineer, that just continued and started to get bigger. I started to do more more things, it was a lot easier for me to get onto those sorts of things, because I had another qualification to back myself up. Don't get me wrong, the associate degree, the associate diploma, or advanced diploma is without a doubt absolutely useful, but I can talk about that later. So that learning is not wasted. So yeah, I moved on to being an executive office bearer, chair of a college and all that sort of stuff. Some fantastic experience, but what helped me with that, and what people I feel are looking for is the way that it's about the conduct, it's about the maturity, and it's about the behaviours and the self-reflection. Because a lot of challenges or a lot of problems that need to be solved come up, and you need to, before you jump in, you need to self-reflect and say, all right, how am I going to approach this, and what is it about me that might cause it to go the way that I'm not, that we don't want it to go? So then what can I do to make it go the way that we need to get the outcome? And usually that's always about learning something that I haven't learned yet, or put something into practice in a way that I hadn't had to do yet. And then then I moved into, I got invited to be a candidate interviewer for Chartered, and it's interesting, a few candidates unknowingly admitted to some things which were pretty, they didn't know that how serious they were, that they admitted to doing in the Chartered interviews. But and this is about it's just about what they did at work, or some behaviours that they chose to carry on with, and the thing is that the difference between myself and themselves was that they didn't have the support that I was able to have around me, and that's and you can't take that for granted. So it's and not everyone has an engineer around them to ask questions, or the right sort of person to help mentor them, or just be a friend at work and learn some things. So it's it's about I looked at those cases as an interviewer, and I said, well, this person is a really good person, and either they don't know what they've done, not realizing, or they've just made a mistake. And so it's about how can I get to, as an interviewer, in my own experience, how can I get to those qualities that are in that person? They're always in that person, and how can we make them apparent to that person, and draw them out? But as an interviewer, we don't want to give them the answer. They've got to find it themselves, and they've got to grow. So it might mean come back in 6 months and we'll review it again, or write a paper. We got someone to write a few papers, and that person got over the line. So it's always about drawing those qualities out, because, like I said, the MY on I, or the Colebrook-White friction equation is at the end of the line. That's the last thing you even look at. When you're doing a job, it's that technical stuff is right at the end. First you've got to get yourself there. So yeah, then other things, I got invited to the professional conduct committee as a subject matter expert, and that again is about drawing out the qualities. It's not, the technical is a subject, and we need to get that right, but there's a lot behind that gets us to that technical. And the reason why things are how they are, and it's about behaviours, and have these people self-reflected. Self-reflection is a massive thing, and that's what like say the work that I do when I'm an expert witness is all about that. You read an affidavit, and you say, well, this is the person, this is the stuff that this person feels is really important to them, and you don't want to read into it and read things that aren't there, but you can certainly pick up on the language that they're using and all that sort of stuff to help solve the problem. And one of the one case that I looked at, the people were looking at something that they thought was a very technical problem, and it was actually related to something completely different. And the solution to the problem was not technical at all, but the technical was the means to getting there. And so that's why I'm talking about same with chartered. Is the technical is great. You can have as many qualifications as you like. You can have a master's, a PhD, all that stuff's cool. But you need to be able to get yourself as a mode of transport for that information to get it there, and how you do that is the important thing. And so yeah, next thing I got invited as a fellow member to the Engineers Australia. I think I was in my early 30s when that occurred. I was invited by the CEO and supported by the president and the vice president, which was pretty amazing to get that letter. And then following that, I've been working on critical assets, which are related to Greater Sydney's water supply and various other things. And so you can sort of see there, if you look at that list from top to bottom, things are just getting bigger and grander, and a lot more responsibility involved with the sort of work that's in, and the things that people expect, and the people that you're working with, getting closer to things that affect Parliament. With working with as an executive office bearer, you're not that far from providing advice to policy, like on Parliament, and also working in a water utility. The executives and the CEO are, they communicate with Parliament. It's pretty full on, and so if I was to look back and reflect on what got me there, was it the technical stuff? Well, yeah, I know a lot of things, and I've learned a lot of things, and the reason how I've learned a lot of things is because I seek it from people, and I want to learn from people, and I learn really quickly. I pick things up really fast, and so I can just keep going. And the more you learn, the better you get at learning, and the faster you can learn. Was I always fast at learning? No, because I had so many questions, and so now I don't have to answer as many questions, because I can use critical thinking and lateral thinking to answer a lot of those, and then so I can get a topic and absorb it a lot faster. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm pretty confident that we can all learn, and so it's a bit, you look at what got me invited to those sorts of situations, and it was about how I present myself, how I conduct myself, how I have developed my level of maturity in the profession, and all that sort of stuff to get me to those things. And and I never saw myself 10 years ago in achieving that stuff. I didn't set out to achieve that stuff. What did I set out to do? I set out to do the best I could, and that path, that journey, just went in that direction, so it's not, I didn't plan it, but it's something that what am I trying to say? It's within everyone in here, and it's who we are, and so it's just about developing that and working with that to achieve an objective, a goal, a small one, a lot of small ones working up to something big in the future, which you might not know exists yet. So we'll go on to, I know that was a long one. We're probably going to go over the hour, and if we do, I'm going to put this up on the website anyway, so people can watch. So don't worry about if we fall short and the team's event cuts off. So how to approach chartered? This is an interesting one. I had a look at the new system. Of course, I was across the new system. It came in when I was chair of the mechanical college, but I've another look at it the other day, and looking at all the pathways. So what there is there's a lot more pathways, and to be able to become chartered and get you there than I feel that were in the past. When I started looking at it, there was the big long reports that you would write. Then you would have an interview, and I tried to look at what I had to write, and I honestly had no idea. I would write stuff down, and then I'd come back a week later and read it and go, well, that was just a load of junk, and I'm going to throw it away. I wrote it again and again and again and again. And at that point in time, with respect to what to write, I was asking a lot of questions, and I was taught, I spoke earlier about, having slow learning and having a lot of questions to answer, and not having the people around me and it was hard to find people that could answer those questions. And I really struggled to find people that, and it was like when I was a lot younger, when I was still an associate engineer, asking questions back then about, should I do the degree? Trying to find people with those sorts of answers were really hard. And so this is why we've got this webinar here, is that I wanted to provide some of those insights and perspectives, and hopefully you might get a couple of answers out of this. So let's go through to the next slide. We'll just leave that sit there for the moment. So, so after the system had changed, and when would it be? Probably changed about 2012. And then they had the career episodes and stuff like that, and they were a lot easier to write. Why were they a lot easier to write? It was just defined a little bit better. And so then I wrote my episodes, and that's when I heard a senior engineer who always focused on my writing. It was, and I value him for that. Was saying, look, that's a passive sentence, that's an active sentence, and it's a very small thing, but it makes a heck of a lot of difference in being able to communicate ideas. It's like the difference between having a drawing that's crammed and hard to read, which is going to cause problems and errors, versus a drawing that's really well laid out. And your passive and active sentences is a good place to start. So my writing was key to that, and staying on topic. I remember my ancient history teacher saying, Michael, you're always going on tangents, and because I always come up with so many ideas and I'd never finish one. So I really focused on those ideas and bringing them shorter and shorter and shorter, and being succinct in what I'm saying. You only had a 700 word count to play with. Anyway, so I answered all those, and when I got to the interview, I remember the assessor, she said to me, your reports were really good, but did you really have to use the entire word count? So I used 700 words in every single one, and they had to do a load of reading. And when I became an interviewer, I'd read the, I'd commute to Sydney and every day and all that sort of stuff, and so I'd sit on the train and I'd read the career episodes. And, there's a lot of stuff that, even in that 700 words, that you can chop out. It doesn't add to it doesn't add value. It's just storytelling and fluff. And it's a lot easier to get to the point, but it takes practice. So if you think about the sorts of writing that you do at work, or at university, when you do a lot of padded sort of writing you might do at uni, and it's it's good to break that habit, if that's sort of what you experience. So what I've got here, let's get to this slide. What I've got here is, this is a competency table that's from the latest system, which has a workplace pathway as well, like being evaluated in the workplace, which I think is kind of nifty as well. And what we've done is, what they've done, sorry, because I've got the reference, the website address which I've taken this from. We're just going to review this from like an educational perspective. So this table is not mine. Engineers Australia put this together, but this is my own perspective on this table. So it's not a representation of EA or the college or anything like that. So let's just not to get confused. And we've got a lot of things in here. We've got I'll just zoom in. We've got email trains, types of evidence, email trains, minutes, drawings, plans, reports, Gantt charts, presentations, learning journal, development plan, peer reports, safety management plan, triple bottom line. That's the people, planet, and project, I think, from memory. It's not a term I use all the time. Whole of life analysis, stakeholder engagement plan, HAZOP plan, work suspension order, project quality or resource plan, maintenance plan, root cause analysis, and lessons learned or project closure report. And then we've got here, over the top here, we've got competency. We'll just read those ones out because they're a little bit blurry. But if you go to that website, you'll be able to look them up a lot clearer. So we've got deal with ethical issues, practice competently, responsibility for engineering activities. Number 4, develop safe and sustainable solutions. 5, engage with relevant community stakeholders. 6, identify, assess, and manage risks. 7, meet legal regulatory requirements. 8, communication. 9, performance. 10, taking action. 11, judgment. 12, advanced engineering knowledge. 13, local engineering knowledge. 14, problem analysis. 15, creativity and innovation. 16, evaluation. These are all important things. You know, it's. Oh dear, I've just only brought up the keyboard. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we'll zoom back in. Now, there's elements of what we do, which as engineers, which can be represented by these things. So it's a competency can. Sorry, let me start again. This one thing, or these few things, there's a few things, there's probably 4 things that can be represented by competencies. And they can be represented within types of evidence, but they're not in all the types of evidence. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and start to categorize these things, which hopefully would help you look for bits and pieces of your experience to write about in your episodes or report or interview or whatever whichever pathway you're going down, such that you can you know, hopefully get quicker, a better, not better, get to the end a little bit easier, you know, and this is just helping to answer the questions that I was asking when I was doing it. And when I say when I was asking myself of what am I going to do? What am I going to pick? You know, there's a lot of stuff about design and projects, and the idea was to think about, oh, I have to pick the biggest thing, but in fact, it's not about the biggest thing. You know, it comes about all the things other than the technical, in a way, is how we conduct ourselves and what we do and how we behave and all that sort of stuff. And the technical is just a subject matter. I don't want to whittle down the technical to, but you know, it's very important. But you know, just to put in perspective from my opinion. So let's go across, and we're going to look at designs. So where do we find elements of design in these things? And I've highlighted them in magenta. So we've got them. I've just got to go in here. We've got drawings on the types of evidence. I'm just looking at my screen down here, so sorry for that. We've got drawings, plans, HAZOP plan. That'll have elements of design in there, and a maintenance plan. So maintenance plans have an element of design. Now we've got email trains. Do emails have design in them? Well, it's a way of communicating a design, so you can write things down. Sort of, yeah, but let's just leave that out for the moment. Now, where is design found in the competencies? So pretty much every single one, except for perhaps taking action. Because taking action is a bit of a behavior, and you use a design or implement a design or something like that. So that's interesting. Now let's go to the next one, which is looking at practicing. So practicing, by that, what I mean is using first principles, MY on I, you know, all that sort of stuff. Using your knowledge that you've acquired in an engineering situation to provide an outcome or a solution to a problem. So I've highlighted those in cyan. And what have we got? The extra ones down in the types of evidence, we've got then reports, peer review reports, whole of life analysis, and root cause analysis. There's one I labeled a little bit later. I didn't label it on this slide. We'll find that. And then practicing is, you know, can be found, I would think, in every single competency up the top, you know, because we're practicing as engineers. Now, when we look at peer review report and reports, practicing, why are they in the practicing area? Well, is because we're conveying a solution to that. In the report, we're conveying, the solution and the advice or whatever we need to give someone for them to consume and use and all that sort of stuff. And then in peer review reports, we're providing review. Or what is review? It's the assessing something for the purpose of improvement. Now, in a peer review report, does a person, here's a question for you. If you review someone's work, do they have to do what you've said in your review? There's a question for you. I'm not going to tell you the answer to yes or no, but it's something to reflect on and have fun with that one. So then we go to the next one here and we go business. So business is great. Without business, we've got no place to do our engineering. We always do our engineering in business, I suppose, unless you're in your garage building something for yourself and all that sort of thing. But eventually, some point, it's going to end up in an area of business. You might be bartering with someone at the lowest level or something like that. So where does business exist? So these are all in yellow. So we've got emails, minutes, Gantt charts, presentations, probably development plans. It's a businessy thing, but let's leave that out there for me. So you've got safety management plan, triple bottom line analysis, stakeholder engagement plan, and project quality or resource plan. I haven't got any yellow in the competencies. I thought I decided to leave those off for the moment. Now, with business, are these about practicing? Let's separate them. The answer could be no. Does an engineering degree delve into the area of business? Not really. That's why you could say that people offer double degrees in engineering and business, or engineering and commerce. Now let's think about management plans, all sorts of plans and stuff like that. Plans generally, and this is from my experience, plans generally suffer from cut and paste. There's very few plans that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of plans, but there's not many that don't suffer from cut and paste, where they've been written from scratch. And we're talking about the plans listed in this column here. So you've got all sorts of different plans, like you've got plans for doing something specific on a job, which would be written bespoke, and that wouldn't be a cut and paste affair. Someone would write that specifically. But then you've got your design management plans, your safety management plans, your construction management plans, your construction environment management plans, your all those sorts of things. They tend to suffer from cut and paste. So if you're going to think about using a plan for evidence, just have a look at is it cut and paste-ish, and what does it represent what you've done, and that might be to help reflect on the evidence that you're looking to maybe provide. Then we've got a Gantt chart. So a Gantt chart, that's a program, and it's a business or a project thing. So that's related to the project. It would show your ability on how you can schedule and plan and think and allocate, sort of jobs and things like that. It's probably as far as it goes. However, can what a Gantt chart represents cause a safety issue? Or no, sorry, let me start again. Can a safety issue or a hazard or of that sort be represented in a Gantt chart? Well, if you're putting a machine together and it's backwards and it's going to cause someone to get hurt, yeah, sure, it could be represented. It could be found on a Gantt chart. So a Gantt chart, could be used as, that's why that's probably in there. So let's have a look at the next one. This one's personal. So this is about ourselves. So they're in green, and we've got the learning journal, the development plan, and the lessons learnt, because that's also about learning. And yeah, we won't go into those ones too much. They're pretty straightforward. Now, let's look at, we're on slide 19 here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to say, what does that look like? Well, I've only spread the Y column, the vertical column across. I haven't brought the horizontal column rows down. So design, if we look at the elements of design and practicing, they're pretty dominant across the board there. And then we've got a lot of businessy things. What does that, what's this sort of trying to represent? Well, if we look at all the things we spoke about earlier on in this session, it was about doing the technical things, which is design and all that sort of stuff, and practicing, which is providing advice and all that sort of thing. But then we do it in a place which is a place of business, a place of commerce. And so if you take all the yellow stuff, the magenta stuff, and the cyan stuff, they're sort of places you could look to get a lot of information from out of what you do in your workplace, to bring that together and use that for your episodes, your reports for Chartered. Anyway, so that's probably as far as we're going to go today. And the reason why I've only gone that far is because we can really dive down the rabbit hole if we keep talking about it. And most certainly we can do more topics. If there's anything you're interested in learning or hearing about, I can put a request in with us through the contact@myleadengineer.com.au email address, and we can certainly get stuff going. I've got a wealth of information that we can provide. But for this one, of the people that I've assisted with them becoming chartered, and of the people who have read the reports and all that sort of stuff, there's quite a good handful of people there. The biggest question has been that's been asked of me, and it's the biggest question that I asked when I was doing it, which is, what do I write about? What do I pick? Where do I get it from? And so I just wanted to provide a visual sort of a diagram of where that information could come from, and is it design related? Is it practicing related? But the main thing is, and I'll just leave you with this one last piece, this one last idea, is how you write. Focus on, I would suggest, focus on just keeping to the point, avoiding the sorts of cut and paste kind of things that you see in management plans, which we endeavour to, or I always did something, and all that fluffy stuff. It's not, if you're going for chartered, you're going to be a person that always endeavours to do the best and all that sort of thing. Maybe just focus on the content that's going to get that message across about what it is you've done and what the outcome is, and answering those requirements that's asked for in the assessment. And what that'll do is it'll also make it easier for people to read. It's easier for you to write, and it takes less time to write if it's easier all around. Anyhow, so I hope that was helpful. I know it was a perspective on my own perspective and my experience and what I've learned from others as well. But yeah, I hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next one. But what we do have is, I've got, for the people who are attending this session, the MS Teams group where you can add questions and all those sorts of things. I'll answer those, monitor that for the next week or so. So you can ask your questions there and I'll answer them. I'll be putting this up on the website for free to access. So if anyone else has questions that they'd like to ask, when this is available for on demand, then just pop them through on our contact at myleadengineer.com.au, and we'll see what we can do to maybe help you out. All right, thank you very much, and have a nice day.